I have something to tell you about that happened to me that absolutely no one will believe. I tried reporting it to the proper authorities, and they were no help at all. Despite the seriousness of what happened, they almost seemed to be sandbagging, and I know full well they knew a heck of a lot more than they were letting on. Let me start from how all of this happened. I live out in the Midwest, in my land. My family owns a few acres with animals and stuff. It's a pretty nice place. My land is really close by to a national park, and these big forests that you can hike in for hours and still not get to the very end of. Now, I own a dirt bike, and it's a massive hobby of mine. I really enjoy off-roading in the hills and going out into the middle of the desert and just ripping it as fast as I can. I've been riding for years, so I would say I'm pretty competent. I'm a bit of a thrill seeker, and let's just say I started making some poor decisions. I know that riding in a national park is illegal, but early in the morning and late at night when there's the cover of darkness and not really anyone is around, I got into the habit of going for some quick rides. I would just wear my helmet, and that was usually enough to not reveal my identity, just in case there was some weirdo out there at that time. I almost got caught once or twice, usually in the morning, but the thrill of it just kept making me go back. Anyway, fast forward to the day that all of this really kicked off. It happened just shy of 6 months ago. It was around 3 or 4 a.m. or so, and the sun was still a couple of hours away from rising. No one seemed to be around at all, and so I decided to go deeper into the national park than I ever had before. Bit of a mistake because once I got further in, it became almost impossible to ride for more than a couple of minutes at a time before I would need to dismount the bike and carry it over something or try and find an alternate path on foot that I could not ride through. Cut to one of these points. There's like this big dirt path that's almost completely flooded because we had a bit of a torrential downpour just the day prior that I guess had not fully cleared up. I tried to ride through it, but it was deeper than I expected and I just got stuck. I almost fell off and landed my stupid ass in to get soaked. I took a shortcut through the trees on foot because I knew there was a bit of the park coming up that had a lot of tall grass, but was pretty easy to ride through. I get part of the way through the trees, and that is when I spot something. I can see lights off in the distance, flashlights. I can see 2 or 3 of them actually, and I can see that there is a couple of people standing around this black SUV that has tinted windows. 2 of them are talking. There is one guy opening up the back of the car, and he looks like he's straining to get something. Bear in mind, this is just from what I could remember. It was still pretty dark, so it's possible that my brain just filled in some of the blanks, and they aren't entirely accurate. I'm trying my best here. He says something that I could not make out, and both of the other 2 just run over to him. These guys were wearing dark clothes, but they were all pretty incognito. Just these plain sweaters, plain black beanies, almost like they were dressed as amateur robbers, but they were not wearing anything that would cover their faces. And I spotted that one of them had a holster with a gun inside of it. I'm not sure if the others were armed too. I could not really make it out, but upon seeing this, I just started shaking. I figured that maybe I stumbled upon some kind of crazy cartel handoff or something that I was not supposed to see. Then I saw them all go to the back of the car and lift something out of it. It took all 3 of them to lift whatever it was out of there, and it looked like a real struggle. I did not really understand what I was seeing at first. It was like one of those things that cats go in, that you carry them into the vet, like a little cage, but this was obviously significantly bigger, and like I said, it needed 3 of them. It looked like you could fit a small child in there, maybe something even bigger than that. And there were sounds coming from inside it too. It sounded like someone or something making a low growl, like from a dog, and it was slamming itself against the metal that the thing was made out of repeatedly, again and again, all while making these sounds. They set it down on the ground, and one of them prepared to open it, while the other 2 stood in front of the cage with something. I'm not sure what. Like a net? Like a big net on a stick. The cage opens up, and this thing shoots out of the cage, and I don't even know how to describe it. It was built like a human, but was probably only around 4 feet in height. It was standing like it was bent over, like a gorilla would, and this thing was exceptionally hairy. It had these teeth that you could just see peeking out of its mouth, and it had a snout that was quite pointed. It was some kind of an animal, but was standing up on 2 legs and was built almost like a human. It just had claws instead of fingers. The differences were so minor. I don't know what exactly they were doing. They trapped it with the net, and then one of them grabbed the thing and seemed to poke it with something. Not with a needle, but something similar. And then after that, they let it loose. They shooed the thing away, and it did not even attack them. I was completely baffled. They did this multiple times. I saw them bring out 3 different cages, all with similar looking things. And it was on the 3rd one that they released that I messed up. This one did not listen to them properly. It seemed to take a swipe at one of the men and put a hole in his jeans, and then it ran off in my direction. I could not help myself. Seeing this thing moving towards me at the pace that it was, I fucking squealed like a little girl and started up my bike. I did not stick around for long to see whatever happened, but I know for a fact that they all immediately looked in my direction. This thing flew past me as I was trying desperately to get my bike to a section where I could ride it. It didn't stop or take any interest in me at all. It just kept on going. I heard shouting. I heard the car start up, and I heard foliage and other things in the woods being knocked down. I never saw it follow me home. I made sure not to go home straight away. I just focused on getting far away from the place, as far away as possible, and I only went back home when I was sure that it was safe. I don't know how they even found me. Fast forward a couple of weeks, I had not forgotten about the incident, but it was definitely firmly in the back of my mind by now. I was well into the process of just trying to forget what I saw, trying to pretend that it never happened. So, when 2 men knocked at my door claiming to be FBI, my first thought was not, oh shit, it was the guys in the SUV. My first thought was actually, oh no, I'm going to jail for riding my dirt bike illegally, and I am going to get slapped with a $5,000 fine. I know in hindsight that does not make sense at all. Why would they come here for something like that? They only deal with bigger cases, right? The only people inside my house at that time was my girlfriend and my best friend. I did not have time to call my mom and ask what I should do, etc. I wasn't an idiot. I asked to see their badges, and they looked legit. They told me that they needed to come inside to speak with me about something urgent. I asked if they could tell me what it was first, and one of them practically shoved me out of the way and just walked inside my house. When I tried to protest and say that he could not legally do that, the other guy who was still behind me grabbed me by the back of the neck and then shoved me onto the couch. He told me to take a seat and shut up, and that they would be quick. I knew that something was seriously wrong at this point. They told me that if I did not cooperate, that things would get much, much worse for me. They told me that they knew about my exploits with the bike, that they could easily send me to jail for 6 months right now and slap me with a fine. But they told me that they were willing to help me out. They told me that it was my first offense, and they just wanted to ask me some questions. Meanwhile, this other guy is just turning the house over, pulling out drawers, rifling through documents, tossing everything on the floor. They actually took my fucking phone from my pocket and just ripped it out without even asking me. And when I tried to protest, I was told to shut up. My friend, who has significantly more balls than me, confronted the guy and told him that what he was doing was completely illegal, that they did not have the authority to do any of this. The guy told my friend to shut up, or that he would be copping a sentence for aiding and abetting. I told him to just sit down and shut up, and he just started arguing with me now too, saying that this was bullshit. He straight up said to me, I bet those badges are fake. I bet you're not even real FBI. And the guy behind him, he just went crazy. He pulls something out of his pocket and just wallops my friend on the back of the head. He falls instantly to the ground, and he beats him a few more times, and I do not see my friend get up. I don't even hear him make any noise. At this point, I am almost sobbing, and my girlfriend is clinging onto me and covering up her face. The guy standing in front of me throws a picture at me. It's one that they snapped of me and my bike as I was trying to flee. He asked me what I saw. I tried to give him a bullshit answer about how it was too dark, but he just snapped. The other guy who hit my friend, he ragged my girlfriend by the hair and put her on the floor in front of me. He told me if I lied again, then I would be in big trouble. So I told him the truth. They let go of my girlfriend. They actually stepped outside and spoke to each other at length. I was told not to move a muscle. I just had to hold my girlfriend as she sobbed her heart out. I heard some sounds outside, something metal clanging against something else metal. I heard slamming and heavy footsteps, and then I heard the sounds of a car driving off at a rapid pace. I waited 10, maybe even 15 minutes before even daring to look outside to see what the hell was going on. I was scared that something bad might happen if I did. But they were gone. I immediately called the police and an ambulance for my friend. I know that sounds stupid, but I mean, what else could I do? Surely there would be some accountability for this kind of shit, right? I know that's pretty naive of me, but if I couldn't get help this way, then I was screwed anyway. My friend thankfully ended up being okay. I think he had a nasty headache, and I think he even cracked a rib where he fell down on them pretty violently when he was hit from behind, but aside from that, nothing too serious. My girlfriend broke up with me shortly after. She told me that in that moment she felt powerless and that she could not deal with that type of thing ever again. That seeing me just sit there and do nothing like that made her lose faith in me. I understood that completely. I did freeze, but I mean, these men were armed, and they seemed as if they were FBI. I had never seen an FBI agent in real life. How was I supposed to know? I was freshly 18 when this happened. I had no real-world experiences. For all I knew, if I got involved or did anything or tried to tell them to go away, I would end up in jail, and my life would be over. Like I said, the police investigation seemed to be useless. They had taken my dirt bike. For what purpose, I have no idea. I was informed that an internal investigation had been conducted and that no FBI agents had ever been sent to my house, ever. There were no open cases involving myself or anything to do with the national park nearby. None of my property had been taken in as evidence, so they basically told me that my dirt bike being gone was nothing to do with them. I gave these guys every single shred of information that I could, even admitting to what I did, and they found no trace of these men. Every time I called to ask about progress, the person on the line sounded like they were sick of me, and I was always left on hold for long periods of time. Any officers that I spoke with in real life treated me with disdain. I just don't know where to go from here. I'm terrified that at any point, these guys could just show up again. And what were they doing in those woods? If they were actually the same people, I just don't know anymore. I need help. I think I've posted a couple of my stories before, but not for a while, and I've got nothing better to do, so. This first one, it happened to me when I was 20 years old. I was going up to Maryland with my best friend to collect a minor trust fund. We were getting an apartment from my grandma who died when I was a kid. It was around a 12-hour journey. My friend has season passes to Kings Island in Ohio. We decided to stop there, stick around, stay overnight, and then continue on the next day. It's a weekday, so there is absolutely no one around. The carnies let us ride the roller coasters over and over until we say stop. It was a pretty good time. I want to take a breather, so we wander around the park. We come to an area where there is nobody around, no employees or anything. It looks like some kind of storage space for seasonal stuff. There is a little cement walkway in a zigzag pattern leading up to a shed that reminds me of that one in Jurassic Park where Samuel L. Jackson gets disarmed. I see a dismembered headless torso sticking part way out of the shack. Huh, funny Halloween decorations. I keep on walking. My best friend and I stop at the exact same second and look at each other. We talked about it later, and he confirmed that his instincts suddenly went apeshit and he could not have taken another step forward if he wanted to. It was the exact same thing that I felt. The torso does not look so decorative anymore now that we were a little bit closer. We are still a ways off, but I imagine the smell of rot would have gotten to us even at that distance, but who knows. We stare at the shed for another 10 seconds or so. We turn and leave the area. We keep on looking over our shoulders. We leave the park after that. We get pizza and watch some movies in a shitty motel. I go to bed. I wake up in the middle of the night just to piss. I hear my doorknob jiggling. Now I have to piss and shit. I wait for a minute and it just stops jiggling. I hear footsteps outside. Nothing else weird happens after that. I continue on the journey the very next day. I bring it up pretty often to my friend, and he remembers it the exact same way. Our subconsciousness was saying, fuck that, for some reason, I guess. Okay, the next one. Spooky country murder pit. Be me. I was a high school senior, so around 17 to 18 years old. My parents are divorced, as I mentioned. I was living with my mom mostly at this point because of some personal stuff. My best friend from the Kings Island story is over all the time. We take walks down a long dead-end road next to my mom's house a lot. It's an unpaved road. There are lots of abandoned structures and trailers and barns and stuff. We like to explore. There is an absolute ton of land out there, so there is always someplace new to check out. We wander in the woods. There is not really anything interesting around. Eventually, the trees open up into a big clearing. There is what looks like a burn or a trash pit near the tree line on one side. Cool, shit that we can pawn. We start rummaging through it. It's all just bullshit. I eventually notice a small bone. Somebody burned their cat, I guess. I see more bones, bigger bones, uncomfortably bigger. My dad works in the medical field, and one of his specialities is reading x-rays, meaning he is really, really good at identifying bones. My phone is dead. My best friend's phone is not. I have him take some pictures of the bones. I give him my dad's number. He texts him, explaining what we found, and asks for an ID of the bones. My dad texts back just a couple of minutes later. Those look human. Neat. We found a fucking body dumping ground. I hear something past the tree line, beyond the pit. There is something moving around. That's not entirely unusual. There are squirrels and coyotes and other stuff everywhere out there. This did not sound small enough to be any one of those, though. I yell something like, go, or get the hell away. We take the hell off. We get back home. We debate calling the cops. We highly distrust cops and do not want to involve ourselves with anything that they are involved in. I decide to make an anonymous tip. I went back there like a month or so later, and the pit was totally gone, besides some obvious burn marks where it had been, so I guess they cleared it. This one is much shorter, but I still remember the feeling. I am a firm believer that the subconscious mind is way more aware than people even realize, almost on some kind of sixth sense psychic level. I was 23 years old or so. I was going to buy liquor from the store that I usually use. I park up next to a van, one of those big ass ones with a sliding slide door and a ladder on the back. This one has curtains on the sliding door window, so I guess the driver was living inside of it, or using it as a camper or something. As I am heading into the store, a guy comes outside and goes for the van. I guess that's the driver. We make eye contact. Every instinct in my brain collectively shits itself, and I feel my adrenaline dump. This guy does not look particularly creepy. He doesn't stand out. He's not that big. He doesn't have any weird facial marks or anything. He's just a random, regular, average guy. With eyes that are blank. It's actually hard to describe, because I don't mean vacant like someone who is drunk or the 1,000-yard PTSD stare, nor do I mean some supernatural spooky dooky horseshit like his eyes were all black or something. The closest thing I can compare them to is how a doll's eyes look. They're meant to be copies of the human eye, but they are very, very obviously not human eyes. He nods to me, and he gets inside the van. I don't think I nodded back. I'm pretty sure I was way too freaked out to move. That feeling fades away pretty quickly after that. I go home, and I get sloshed. I'm pretty sure I came across a murderer or serial killer or something. I also somewhat think that he picked up on my response, and the nod was his acknowledgement of that. Maybe he even got a kick out of it. I never actually felt in danger. Like, I don't believe he was sizing me up as a potential victim or anything. I just think that my subconscious mind knew that this asshole was not a good person and wanted to make sure that I got that. To end off, I have a few about ghosts, I guess. I was 14 years old. I had to walk through the laundry room to get inside my house. I see a woman in a black dress sitting on the sink. This regular, solid-looking weird dress. I can't remember if her head was sideways or if there was hair covering her, but I do remember not seeing a face. I asked my mom, who was just past the doorway in the next room, who her friend sitting on the sink is. She says to me, "What are you talking about?" We went to check and she was gone. It took me like less than 5 seconds to ask the question and then take 2 steps back into the laundry room. Before that, my family lived in a rented house where, every single night, we would hear loud pig-sounding snorts coming from the same spot. I was 8 or 9 years old, plus my dad, my mom, my granddad, and my 2 older sisters were living there. We moved to a new house, rented. This is in South America. Houses are not built elevated 2 feet or whatever off the ground, like in the US. There are no basements either. It's just solid ground with a few pipelines beneath us. This will be relevant in a second. Maybe a week after we moved in, the sound started up. It was really loud, in different cadences and patterns. Very clear pig snorts, and I mean loud. You could feel the door shaking. Every night at midnight, it just started, and it lasted until probably around 6 a.m. every single night. We pinpointed exactly where it was coming from a spot underneath the ground in one of the bedrooms. We called plumbers, contractors, electricians. Nobody had a clue what it could be. The neighbors could hear it too. We invited some of them to spend the night. Nobody knew what the hell it was. But they told us that the house had been empty for a long time before we moved in, and it never made those sounds. The owner did not know anything. It clearly was not natural. The whole family slept together in the same room because we were all freaked out. We eventually called a priest to bless the house, or exorcise it, or whatever he could do. Those pig snorts became not as loud for a few days, but then they came back as if nothing had happened. We moved out in like 6 months. We would have moved out sooner because it was driving us crazy, but it took just that long for my dad to find us somewhere else. I've got an interesting story that very few people I've told actually believe. A little bit of background. My best friend and I have known each other for 20 years, and we are now both nearing 30 years old. We grew up in Southern California on the beach, and have been avid surfers since we were little kids, and have spent the last 10 years diving and spearfishing. We are extremely comfortable in the ocean, and are very familiar with the local flora and fauna, as well as many of the rare out-of-area visitors. For the last 5 years, we have very heavily gone into spearfishing. I'm talking as soon as we get off work. We would meet at the beach, have our wetsuits and spear guns in our cars. We are absolute addicts, and we fish at least 4 out of 7 days of the week. We both have GoPro cameras mounted to our Cressy spear guns because we love to show off any cool footage that we get to friends and colleagues, as well as on the spearboard forums. Now for the story. Just over a year ago now, we were in our usual fishing spot in between Bird Rock and La Jolla, about 400 yards offshore. The fishing had been fair for the day with some good sightings, but we have both failed to land any fish so far. We surfaced to talk about our plan of attack before heading back into it, and suddenly, hundreds of baitfish sardines started scattering and jumping off the surface all around us. Now, experienced fishermen will recognize this right away and know that it means that a predator of some sort is right beneath the ocean and scaring all of the fish up to the surface. We are excited, so we immediately dive down to look around, but we find nothing. The sardines take off at Mach 10, and we are left wondering what startled them. The water out there is about 40 to 50 feet deep, on top of rock reef, and any large predator is easy enough to notice immediately if you keep an eye out, but we cannot see a damn thing. Then I start to realize there is nothing out there swimming around. In an area usually teeming with life, everything has gone into hiding. We surface again to discuss the strangeness of this, as in our entire diving career, we have never seen all reef life just completely disappear, even in the presence of schools of sharks or sea lions. The second that we get to the surface and start to talk, we are hit with what I can only describe as an underwater shockwave pulse. We could feel the compression and movement on our bodies, and we both just shut up and stared at each other. Please note, we are about a quarter-mile away from the shore, with only our fins and leg strength to get back. Normally, this is not concerning in the least, but we were both immediately worried and decided to head back. As we put our faces back in the water, we both felt this immense swelling rushing of water lift us back up to the surface. If you've ever swam near a whale, you will recognize the feeling as they rise. It displaces you and moves you around like an amusement park ride. At this point, we are freaking out because the only thing that we can see around us for hundreds of feet is rock and sand. There is no sign of whatever is causing this. Then we spot it. It looks like a huge rock where there had previously only been a sandy bottom. I'm talking huge, the size of a massive city bus huge. As we are both staring in disbelief, it moves. We point our spear guns at it to film, and I have no clue how to explain this, but I got the feeling that it knew our intent was to record or document it. The second we noticed it and started filming, it took off like a bat out of hell with a massive jet of water propulsion. Think a squid or a nautilus. It was such a fucking huge amount of pressure that from 40 or so feet above it, we were pushed away as it left. Picture this. It's a fairly normal looking rock the size of a large bus that somehow moved into position without us really noticing, then took off so fast once it had been spotted that it was out of sight before you could even blink. But after all of that, here is the part that makes me question my sanity and if it was a cryptid. When we both got home, we reviewed our footage and found out that both of our cameras had malfunctioned within seconds of each other right before we would have captured it on film. To this day, we have absolutely no clue what it was, and the guys at the Scripps Institute think that we are completely nuts. Okay, so this happened to me when I was around 15 years old. It was summer vacation. I was having a really good time. My best friend sleeps over at my house for the first time in forever. He's a true bro. He is always there and always helpful. We are getting ready to go to bed, and I get up to go and brush my teeth. I walk into the bathroom. The bathroom was newly renovated, remodeled, etc. It was pretty sweet looking. I brush my teeth and wash my face. The light system in my bathroom is pretty odd. You have to press a switch, and the lights slowly come on little by little, and you can set the brightness or dim them. I notice that the lights are pretty dim. I get a weird feeling. I stand in the bathroom for who knows why. I just stand there. It's really quiet, and then all of a sudden, I hear someone whisper right behind me, "Help me, please." I turn around quickly, but no one is there, but the shower curtain is slightly open. My teen hormones get the best of me, and I freak the hell out. I am walking out of the bathroom and turning off the lights when I hear, please. Nope. I run into my bed and I tell my friend what just happened. He is freaked out too. I lie awake all night long because I'm scared that my bathroom has a ghost that watches me shit.